Alright, I'm back in this motherfucking car. I'm feeling good. Haven't made no videos in a minute. Been hella fucking busy. Like all y'all motherfuckers should anyway. So don't be fucking getting on me about when the last time I made some goddamn shit. Shit. Fuck wrong with y'all. Alright. I'm gonna be talking to y'all today about should body count matter. This shit has been talked about every day on every other nigga's podcast. Every other girl has discussed it, complained about it, got mad about it. Every other dude has discussed it, complained about it, got mad about it. And I'm not saying what I'm about to say is gonna be the all be all. Again, my opinion is my fucking opinion. You could take it or leave it. It really don't matter. But this is just a different perspective. And I will make a video on why it should. So this is gonna be just about why it should matter. You know, the other one's gonna be about why it shouldn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? And so these are just some perspectives that I think some people have in regards to why they would care overall versus why some people who don't fucking care. All right. So again, it's my fucking opinion. Don't be in the goddamn, well, Elijah, not everybody, not everyone. I don't give a shit. Goddamn, man. Shit. All right. First one, got it on my handy dandy notebook because my ass will forget. I usually put it on my phone, but I'm using my phone to record. So had to take a pen. I haven't used a pen in a long time. I mean, I use it sometimes, but you know, pen's about to get outdated. You know what I mean? Whoever runs the pens business about to be a little pissed one day because unless they pivot, this shit ain't gonna be pivoting on somebody's paper no more. All right. First reason, again, this is why it should matter. And so, you know, before I say anything again, don't expect these answers to be, oh, you know, some fucking game-changing shit. Like, yeah, we told you so. It's not no game-changing shit. It's just simple shit, you know, just letting you know what's going on out here. So, first one, if you're looking to settle down. Now, some people go argue and say, oh, well, if somebody's looking to settle down, you can have people who settle down with someone and the person who they marrying to had slept with 1,000 people and they don't care. They still want to, you know, marry them. Yes, that happens. You see what I mean? That's why I say this ain't no game-changing shit. But there are people who would care and they don't want to settle down with somebody who fucking slept with the goddamn whole cul-de-sac. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't feel that that's an ideal person to get with because for reasons, you know what I mean? Like some reasons it could just be, oh, you know, more like a public thing. You know, when you get married to somebody and you know, their family becomes your family becomes their family, etc. What you're essentially saying to everyone outside of that who sees that or knows you got married or they know you are married, whatever case may be, and they know the person you're married to, or even if they don't, you're essentially telling them that this is the person that you was willing to bet your life on. You see what I mean? And so that's a big message that you send to people when you do get married. Same thing, it's kind of, you get a little bit of that too. You do a little bit of that when you get in a relationship with people too, but that's if more people took getting in a relationship with somebody more seriously, then it would matter. But when it comes to marriage, that's still big. You know what I mean? And so when you get married to somebody, everybody at that wedding, especially that's there at your wedding, if you have people at the wedding, you are indirectly, without even saying it, telling them, this is the person I bet my life on. This is the person that's going to represent me, and I'm the person that's going to represent them, period. That's what you pretty much are saying when you marry somebody, because that's a huge commitment. In almost most cultures, marrying someone is always have been a huge commitment. It's a big commitment. Almost, I want to say it's probably more of a commitment than getting a house, because men know your ass can lose that goddamn house if you get divorced. So, next one, better sexual connection. some people look, and this can happen to anybody, right? You don't know if you're gonna be the motherfucker that this happens to, but there are people out here breathing the same fucking air as you who had sex with a lot of people, and now they don't really feel nothing when they get with the next person, right? And what I mean by feel, well, I could be talking about physical or I could be talking about mental and emotional. I'm talking about more so emotional, sexual connection. When you are getting involved with somebody on that level sexually and y'all having sex, the first few times you get, have relations with somebody and you never had sex, you feel more involved in it. You feel more connected with that person, et cetera, et cetera. But as time goes on, like everything, when you do too much of it, you desensitize yourself from it. You beat your dick too much, you desensitize yourself. You eat too much fucking Popeyes, you desensitize yourself to all that fat and shit. So now you constantly eating, your arteries are getting bad, etc. This happens with anything. You spend too much money, you desensitize yourself to the idea of saving. So now when you try to even save $1, that shit feels like it's blasphemous. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what you do, when you overdo it, and you, in this case, when you fucking a lot of people, and for everybody, a lot can be different. One person could think 5 people, having sex with 5 people in their lifetime is too much. Another person could think having sex with 50 people is too much. It just depends on the person. So that means that other person can go to 49 and they'll still think shit's cool. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if when you have sex with the next person, if you're not, especially somebody that you get married to, you are married to, or somebody you're in a serious relationship with, and you don't feel that deep, burning connection with that motherfucker, it's probably because your ass was fucking around too much. Shit. Or maybe you just you ain't feeling them the way you thought you was. Yeah, so you might have to reevaluate that relationship. Anyways, number 3, don't want to deal with trauma. Well. I knew it was coming. I knew I was gonna write that line. That was guaranteed. Ah, yes. Again, fuck what you heard, man or woman. When you fuck a lot of people and you getting all these soul ties, you getting all emotionally deeply connected with all these people, and you get involved at that type of level, especially if you're trying to have something to do with them too, even outside of sex. All right. So with this point, I don't have it on hand, but if you go to PubMed and you look this shit up, they did a study in 2014, I want to say June or July, where they did I think it was a regression analysis. They did a regression analysis, and for those who don't understand what the fuck that is, because y'all don't fucking read, a regression analysis is simply an X and Y relationship. They're trying to study, is there a relationship from the independent variable of X that ultimately affects the dependent variable of Y. X will always be independent, Y will always be dependent. I'm not about to give you a whole class on this shit, but that's what a regression analysis is. These are usually going to be, when you run these types of analysis in spreadsheets and stuff like that, like softwares, like the most popular one, Microsoft Excel, usually one of the results you're going to get outside of all these fucking numbers and shit on your chart is a chart, a visual chart that shows you a correlation between X and Y on a scatter plot. And it's going to also explain to you, you're going to have these values like the p-value and stuff. And so I guess I should tell you this part. So this is what businesses do a lot. Organizations that really care about what type of information they put out, and especially when it comes down to stuff like, XY relationships, the variable relationships between these two things, when they want to explain a certain thing about a population or a group of people, they do these types of analysis. They have people who do this stuff. Usually these are business majors who specialize in specifically doing data analytics. And so one of the things that they look at, and this is still a standard for the most part, is the p-value. A p-value ideally, when you're doing a regression analysis, you want your p-value to be at 0.05 or less. What does that mean, Elijah? Well, when you have a p-value of 0.05 or less, and you're doing an XY relationship, it's going to tell you if your hypothesis is true or not. If your p-value is above 5%, which is what 0.05 is, they don't give a fuck if your p-value is 0.051. If it's even an inch above 0.05%, you have to completely reject your hypothesis, aka the alternative. The alternative in this case is saying that there is a significant relationship between the two. So that means, in other words, let me flip it. Your hypothesis, in this case, the hypothesis I'm about to tell you that they had in the study was, is there a significant relationship between people who have a lot of sexual encounters based on gender and trauma, emotional trauma and issues? And they discovered that there is, like, for both genders, when they did a study with both genders together, there was no significant relationship. So that means that their p-value was above 5%, even if it was 0.050001. That extra little one, they got to reject it. That means that their alternative is not at least 95% true. It has to be 95% or more true. Otherwise, it's bullshit. So, and there is also another value that tells you how significant that relationship is. But I'm not about to get into that bullshit. We're just gonna talk about the p-value. Y'all probably looking at me like, dude, you just said you wasn't gonna give me a class on this. Shut the hell up. I'm gonna give you this goddamn class because some of y'all need it anyway. So, because y'all be so quick to, y'all be so quick to get a goddamn, well, there's a relationship between the trees and the leaves because every goddamn tree got leaves. It don't work like that. We have to do data analytics. We gotta get a bunch of information. You know what I'm saying? We gotta make sure we don't have too much measurement bias. There's a lot of shit that gets into this stuff when you really want to make sure your information is as accurate as possible. So back to what the fuck I was saying, to nip it in the bud for some of these assholes out here. So what they discovered is, when they did the study for both genders at the same time, there was not a significant relationship. But when they did the study for the genders separately, for women, so for men, they discovered that there still wasn't a super significant relationship. It wasn't even a relationship between the two. Like, for men, basically, they said that it was less likely, if not at all, that men would have more emotional trauma or emotional trauma, period, based on them having more sexual encounters. But when they did women, guess what they said? You could guess it. They do have a significant relationship between that. So they said that that means their hypothesis for women is 95% true. So when you talk about significant relationships and you guys read these articles and stuff, especially from like reputable sites and organizations, trust and believe, 9 times out of 10, their studies is 95% true based on the data that they gathered, because it's nearly virtually impossible to get information on every fucking man and woman on the planet. So they got as much data as they could. I can't remember how much it was. It was a significant amount, and they just did that comparison. And they said for the genders together, no significant relationship. For men on their own, there was a slight relationship, but barely any. Basically, like, it wasn't enough to say this is 95% true. But for women, it was definitely 95% true. So that means that for men by themselves and for both genders together, they had to reject their hypothesis and say that this claim is false under these pretenses. But when they came to women, they were able to accept the alternative and reject the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis in data analytics just simply means that you're rejecting the idea that it's false, that this hypothesis is false, and it's not false. For women, it is a significant relationship between how many sexual partners they have and the development of emotional and mental health issues and or trauma. So Women out there, better close them goddamn legs. Now, men are gonna fucking jump for joy and shit. Calm your goddamn asses down. You know what I mean? Because again, this doesn't cover everybody. There are women out here who's breathing the same oxygen as you, who they had sex with 50 fucking people and are unfazed, unscathed. They don't feel nothing. They're not bothered. They're not hurt. They ain't got no trauma. So in other words, this is not everybody. But in terms of the likelihood that a woman could have emotional or mental trauma from this type of shit, or just any mental health development issues due to more increased sexual encounters, it is 95% more likely for women than men. So, don't want to deal with trauma is number 3. So now that I told you all that, now I can talk about this point. You don't want to deal with trauma. For men, this concern is a little bit higher, and I'm not towards women because of this. Now, a lot of y'all men didn't fucking know that study, so y'all can sit y'all asses down talking about some, yeah, exactly, yeah, I knew that. Shut the fuck up. You didn't know shit. I had to tell you. But overall, before I even said that fucking study, and before the people who knew about it, and all the other ones, men always had more of a concern about this shit. Because in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at the vast majority, it is pretty common that a man is more likely to run into a woman who has trauma due to sexual encounters that she had with previous men. I did multiple times. I know friends who met people like that multiple times. But when it came to the girls, I almost never heard that. And I would directly ask them this shit sometimes. I'll be like, have the guy, and they'll be like, nah, he never talked about shit like that. So when y'all get so defensive, and you know what I mean, with the body count shit, this stuff kind of holds true to some degree. Having a lot of sexual encounters for a woman breeds a lot more trauma that the next guy have to be cognizant of. Period, point blank. It is what it is. So some people, in this case, aka the guys, are not going to want to deal with that trauma. Simple as shit. Number 4, concern about satisfying your partner. Now, there's some guys who's talked about this out loud. I've heard it in podcasts, and some girls be like, well, then you are insecure. Congratulations on saying the same shit the last girl said. At the end of the day, whether you want to label it as insecurities or boundaries, whatever the fuck you want to call it, at the end of the day, the feeling still stands. So you could put a dick label on it. I don't give a shit. The feeling still stands. The person is concerned about satisfying their partner to some varying degree, because if you told them you slept with 50 different men or women, that man or woman can feel like, well, how is it going to be any more special with me? How am I going to be? Why? I don't feel like I'll be, there's women who would feel this too, where they feel concerned that when they have sex with you, they're not going to be able to satisfy you the way they would ideally want you to feel satisfied, because you fucked 100 girls. And vice versa. Men felt this way too. You can have a dude who fucking feels like, damn, I mean, what's gonna be the difference, man? It's not like I got a 9-inch dick and I'm about to, go to Pound Town. Like, my shit is average size, and how am I gonna be able to satisfy any more than the last 100 men? This shit happens. All I can say is that if you feel concerned about that shit, you can do one or two things. You can either have a discussion and see where that shit can go, how y'all can make that shit better, or you walk your ass away. Simple as shit. Last, you just don't feel comfortable. Simple shit. You see how I say this shit ain't groundbreaking? But this is like, I'm gonna make something very clear. Nowadays, because culture has become so goddamn sensitive, society has, one thing I've noticed we as humans do way too fucking much of is over-complexing a situation. A good example would be, y'all see somebody y'all really like that became famous, right? This is a little bit off topic, but I'm bringing it back home. Trust me. Y'all, let's say fucking Kanye West, right? Some people admire this motherfucker from the type of music he's produced throughout his lifetime, and how some producers or wannabe producers are like, man, how did he do it? What was he thinking? Blah 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 blah. Was he eating a fucking a Kit Kat when he was doing it? Like, if I eat 2 Kit Kats, will I get those same results? People overcomplex every goddamn thing when they're trying to get to a new level that the last person that they saw get at. And they think that if they do things the exact same way, they'll get there. That shit doesn't work that way. What works for them just work for them. They could have just been sitting there breathing the fucking air and they just came up with some good shit. That's just what happens. The more you practice, the more you perfect. You'll never get perfections, but that's just the ideal, right? We always striving for perfection. So practice makes perfect. If you are continuously putting in conscious effort into something, you will start having results and producing results that other people will be like, damn, how the fuck he do that? Did he eat fucking 12 Kit Kat bars before he fucking did that? Did he lick a Butterfinger before he did that? Man, I'm so curious. How many water bottles did you drink before you made that goddamn music? That's just is what it is. And so when it comes to shit like this, people overcomplex, what should be and shouldn't be a concern. And when it comes to topics like this, people look at it a little too hard. It's simple shit. You may just don't feel comfortable. If I've had situations where one girl had told me how many people they slept with, it'd be like 3, and I would be like, and the next girl would be like 12, and I'd be like, oh, okay. It just be dependent on the person. Sometimes you just don't feel comfortable with the idea that this girl did 3, but that girl did 12, but you cool with the 12. That's just is what it is. But maybe 2 years later, if you met another girl that did 3, you like, oh, okay. And then the girl who did 20, you like, So it just depends on the situation. It depends on your time in life, your timing in life. One second you have a problem with it, the next second you don't. So if your current time in life, if you hear a young lady say that and you like, then maybe you should talk to her. Like, let somebody else talk to her. You know what I'm saying? Me or someone else. Someone who don't give a shit. Someone else who's in a point in their life where I don't give a flying shit if you fucked 1,000 dudes. If they don't care, let them deal with that. You go find yourself a nice Betty who ain't fucking even thought about fucking, I don't know, like they never even had sex. Just go find somebody like that. But most of the time, most people have had sex at least one time. So you gotta at least be comfortable with one. You gotta at least be comfortable with one. But for y'all motherfuckers out here who's dating these young lads, these young women and stuff like that, especially in this day and age, and again, this is vast majority. I don't want the all popo coming up in here. Well, not everybody has fucked that many. It don't fucking matter. The vast majority nowadays has fucked at least 5 people. You just don't know about it. So what you're gonna have to do is come to terms with it. Simple as shit. Until you run into a motherfucker who's a rare Pokemon, who ain't fucking fucked nobody, you're gonna have to come to terms with the idea that most people you talking to has smashed at least 3 people. Just depends. So stop getting in your fucking feelings. But if you don't feel comfortable when you hear the person blurt out the number or whatever case may be, or you feel like they had some shit with it, then just fucking walk away. Stop. This is what I mean by complicating shit. Stop forcing yourself to be involved in something that you can't 100% be involved in. I'm not about to do that shit. If I feel uncomfortable and somebody say some shit and I'm like, then guess what? I'm my way out that goddamn door. Shit, you got me all the way fucked up. If I'm not comfortable, my ass is leaving. Because the last thing I'm about to do is worry about trying to change you. Simple. Y'all got to start carrying yourselves like the kings and queens y'all claim y'all want to be. Especially the men. Stop claiming you goddamn king and you over here getting in your feelings about shit and then you trying to enforce change. You ain't no goddamn king to me. You a bitch and you a goddamn dictator. We don't want no dictators around these parts of the streets. We want people who can have respect for others and respect for them goddamn selves. So if you got a problem with something, or you don't feel comfortable with something that a young woman has done in their past life, just walk away from that shit, man. Like, you ain't even gotta tell them. But if you tell them and they want to call you insecure, don't be fucking defending well, I know I'm not insecure. I'm a real man. Don't worry about that shit. They want to call you insecure? Take ownership. Be like, sure, you can call me that. Take away their power. You know, stop feeling like you gotta defend yourself over this shit. That, like, if they want to think that you insecure because you wanted to be communicative and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with that type of shit, you know, you ain't gotta say shit, but, you know, I don't feel comfortable with that. I do appreciate the time that we spend together, but, you know, I'm gonna just keep looking. Just leave it like that. If you think you're gonna be able to handle that and you're not gonna trip about it, then if you're gonna still move forward with that person, you need to tell yourself to ignore and move on. Don't even fucking trip about it. And I'm gonna be honest here. This is the last thing I'm gonna fucking say. My personal opinion, why do you, as dudes, listen, guys, why do you give a fuck who she slept with and how many dudes she slept with? Please tell me. If she's on a date with you right now, or you about to be on a date with somebody, or you've been dating somebody for a brick, or y'all been smashing, y'all talking to only each other, why are you in your feelings about the last 20 guys that she slept with? Don't fucking care. You in the bag right now. She trying to give you the ass. And you know what I'm saying? She's on a date with you. She's trying to give you the ass. She's trying to find every reason not to. But if she don't find no reason, and you know, you swindle her and shit, you know what I'm saying? You get in the house and y'all smash. Why the fuck you care, man? Like, get in that ass and be happy. Some of y'all don't ever get ass, but y'all here bitching about the few times that y'all could potentially get some, because the girl slept with 20 dudes. Don't fucking care, man. Like, just don't fall in love with them now. I don't fucking know. Goddamn, buy a sports car. You can't win them all. Shit. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.